This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. Good morning, I'm John Trout. It's Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
The White House defends Pete Hegseth as controversy grows over another Signal chat. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
A verdict in the case surrounding the so-called Doomsday Mom.
Do find the defendant, Lori Daybell, guilty.
I'm Clayton Neville.
Artificial dyes will be phased out of the American food supply. Hayapanjwani, Washington.
On Wall Street, the Dow soared 1,000 points yesterday on the hope the trade war with China will de-escalate. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Announcing mission accomplished, Elon Musk says he's pulling back from his DOGE duties. A jury rules on Sarah Palin's New York Times defamation case and the latest on the Texas lottery troubles. All ahead on America in the Morning. The White House says President Trump continues to stand behind Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Despite new reports, Hegseth used the non-secured Signal app to discuss an attack with certain family members. And now one congressional Republican says it's time for a change, and a Senate Democrat is demanding hearings on the matter. John Stolnis has the latest from Washington.
Let me reiterate, the president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth in the change that he is bringing.
White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt yesterday making it clear to reporters that the president is not looking to replace Secretary Hegseth.
Secretary of Defense is doing a tremendous job, and he is bringing monumental change to the Pentagon. And there's a lot of people in this city who reject monumental change, and I think, frankly, that's why we've seen a smear campaign against the Secretary of Defense.
Hegseth sought to defend himself by appearing on his old employer, Fox News, yesterday morning, but did admit to using Signal to discuss some aspects of a U.S. military strike on Houthi rebels in Yemen last month.
What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning.
The defense secretary claims he is the victim of a smear campaign by some of his former top advisors who have been fired and were escorted out of the Pentagon last week under accusations of leaking sensitive information to the press.
Those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing. And that's unfortunate.
One of the men fired and accused of leaking is Dan Caldwell, a former senior advisor to Hegseth, who went on the Tucker Carlson show this week and denied the accusations.
If I actually did some of the things that anonymous people on the internet and in the Pentagon are saying I did, I'd be in handcuffs.
Caldwell told Tucker the real reason he was fired was he opposed Trump administration plans to be more aggressive militarily against Iran.
I think it's complicated. There's other layers to this, but based on what has been happening since then, I think that is a factor, is that I think, and it is being weaponized against me.
It does not appear as if Hegseth will be leaving his post imminently, but reports indicate Hegseth is overseeing a Pentagon revolting against him and in great turmoil, with additional firings and resignations possible. John Stolnis, Washington.
Verdict in from Arizona in the murder conspiracy trial of the so-called Doomsday Mom. Correspondent Clayton Neville reports on the decision, and outside the courtroom, jurors reacted to the case. Audio courtesy KBOI-TV 2, Boise, Idaho.
Do you think she did herself any favors by defending herself?
No.
You were not impressed with her lawyering skills?
No.
What did you think of her behavior during cross-examination, the way that at one moment she was argumentative with some of the witnesses?
Many days she just was like smiling and laughing and didn't seem to take anything very seriously.
Were you hoping to hear her defend? How much of that did that play into a factor in the decision?
It did.
Were you hoping to hear her testify? Were you hoping to hear her witnesses?
I was.
And what about you?
I didn't understand why she didn't call any witnesses.
Lori Daybell is the mother convicted of murdering two of her children in a so-called doomsday plot. Late Tuesday, a verdict came down in a case that found Daybell accused of conspiring with her brother to kill her fourth husband.
Is this your true verdict? So say you won and all.
Yes.
The Maricopa County, Arizona jury got the case on Monday.
We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant, Lori Daybell, as to the crime of count 1, conspiracy to commit first-degree murder,
occurring on or about July 11, 2019, guilty.
Daybell blamed her brother for the killing, which she claimed was self-defense. Her brother, though, died months after the shooting. Prosecutors argued the shooting was a ploy for Daybell to get rid of her estranged husband so she could get his $1 million life insurance policy. Sentencing in the case is expected to come after an upcoming trial where Daybell is accused of conspiring to kill her niece's ex-husband. I'm Clayton Neville.
Focus on the nation's food supply. Say goodbye to artificial dyes when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The severe weather watch continues. This is America in the Morning. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
AccuWeather severe weather experts are once again warning of thunderstorm development in the western plains from West Texas northward to easternmost Colorado and southern Nebraska, and then shifting eastward through parts of Oklahoma into Kansas late today. These storms will start out fairly isolated later this afternoon and then congeal as the evening continues. These storms have the potential to produce drenching rainfall, damaging winds, and large hail, and there's even a small chance for a tornado. Additional opportunities for similar activity will occur again on Thursday, with another round possible again Saturday. Fortunately, many of these areas are still in need of rain. Additional showers and thunderstorms will develop through the central and eastern parts of Texas and carry eastward through the southeast states into Georgia, including North and South Carolina. A few of those storms could lead to some heavier rain. Additional showers and thunderstorms will also expand into Missouri and Iowa, and then shifting into southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Most of the rest of the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley and eastward through Virginia, northward to the northeast, will be dry today with some amount of sunshine. Highs will be in the 60s and 70s for the most part, with a few 80s in the Ohio Valley and 50s in parts of northern New England. This is about 5 to 15 degrees above the historical average for late April. It's going to be a little bit cooler in the northern plains with a mix of clouds and sun, and there could be a shower or two around in eastern Montana into Wyoming through southern South Dakota. Afternoon highs will be mostly in the 50s and 60s, though this is close to average. That's the weather across America. Austin, Texas will have plenty of clouds around today with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm and a high of 81. It'll be a mild day in Buffalo, New York with a mixture of clouds and sun and a high of 64. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Tesla will be a stock to watch today. After Tuesday's closing bell on Wall Street, the electric vehicle maker reported a 71% drop in profits, but followed that up with an announcement that was even more of a surprise. Elon Musk says he'll be spending less time in Washington slashing government costs and more time running Tesla. Musk said on a conference call with stock analysts that the major work of establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done.
So I think I'll continue to spend, a day or two per week on government matters for as long as the president would like me to do so. But starting next month, I'll be allocating far more of my time to Tesla. And now that the major work of establishing the Department of Government Efficiency is done.
Tesla struggled to sell vehicles and dealt with angry protests for Musk's work with the White House. Tesla's stock value is down more than 40% on the year. We'll have more on Elon Musk and Tesla in business news coming up. Well, big changes are on the horizon to some of the food and snacks we eat. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports on the phasing out of artificial dyes in the U.S. food supply.
U.S. health officials plan to work on removing petroleum-based colors from the nation's food supply. That would trigger an overhaul of products on U.S. grocery store shelves. The plan was announced by Food and Drug Administration Commissioner Marty McCary.
For the last 50 years, we have been running one of the largest uncontrolled scientific experiments in the world on our nation's children without their consent. And today, we are removing these petroleum-based chemicals from their food supply.
The FDA currently allows 36 color additives, including 8 synthetic dyes. In January, the agency banned the color known as Red 3. Food producers would likely replace the dyes with natural substitutes.
It's not the time to stop. It's the time to redouble your efforts because we have them on the run now. And we are going to win this battle. And 4 years from now, we're going to have most of these products off the market, or you will know about them when you go in the grocery store.
Haya Panjwani, Washington.
Trade deal with China closer when America in the Morning continues after these messages. The Business Report is brought to you by Fisher Investments. Fisher Investments has a team of specialists in investing, financial planning, estate planning, and more. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. The roller coaster continues on Wall Street. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger.
Wall Street opens this morning after a rebound from Monday's plunge, the Dow popping 1,000 points on hope for a de-escalation in the Trump trade war, especially with China. Bitcoin hit its highest in 6 weeks, topping 90,000. Gold hit another new record high yesterday as skittish investors look for a safe haven. Now, investors are hoping that tension with China eases.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt sending an encouraging signal about trade negotiations with China during her briefing. She said President Trump wants to get to a deal.
He wanted me to share with all of you that we're doing very well in respect to a potential trade deal with China. As I mentioned, there have now been 18 proposals in more than 100 countries around the world who are wanting to make a deal with the United States of America. And the president and the administration are setting the stage for a deal with China.
And worth noting there, she didn't offer any specifics of what setting the stage for a deal means in real terms. And of course, there's no schedule for presidential level communications between the two countries.
CNBC's Eamon Javers at the White House. Meantime, some investors say the Trump tariff damage has already been done, especially overseas.
All you have to do right now is look at what's going on with tourism. A lot of foreigners are canceling vacations to the United States. Also, look at Tesla sales in Europe. I mean, they were down, 49% in the first 2 months of this year, because that's a brand that's most closely associated with the Trump administration. So there's a big backlash going on, and I think it's going to take a long time before foreigners come around to buying American goods again.
Greenwich Wealth's Vahan Jajankian on CNBC. And the Sell America trade is happening as foreign investors begin to shun the United States.
We've seen this sort of Sell America trade take place for a number of weeks now, where treasuries are losing ground, the dollar is rolling over, and participants are rotating into other geographies around the world.
Pepperstone's Michael Brown on CNBC. Tesla out with disappointing quarterly results after the closing bell last night. Tesla has lost 40% of its value so far this year.
It's been a long time since this stock has traded based upon the fundamentals. It's largely about Elon Musk's vision for the future and the market's belief in his ability to pull it off. And right now, there's a lot of question about his commitment.
The Wall Street Journal's Tim Higgins on CNBC. The Food and Drug Administration banning 8 synthetic dyes used in foods, including those found in Fruit Loops, Flamin' Hot Cheetos, Skittles candy, and more. The policy change will hit food and drink companies like PepsiCo, General Mills, Kraft Heinz, and Kellanova. On today's watch list, we get earnings from big names like Boeing, and the Beige Book will be out on current U.S. economic conditions.
CNBC's Jessica Ettinger. When we return on America in the Morning, the Texas Lottery. The numbers just don't add up. After these messages. A federal jury rules that the New York Times did not libel former Alaska Governor Sarah Palin in a 2017 editorial, ending a years-long defamation lawsuit. The jury reached their decision in barely 2 hours of deliberation after both sides delivered their closing arguments. Palin first sued the paper in 2017 for defamation after claiming an editorial falsely linked her to the deadly 2011 mass shooting that severely wounded then-Congresswoman Gabby Giffords in Arizona. The editorial was corrected the next day. It was the second time Palin tried to sue the New York Times. She lost a different case against the newspaper 2 years ago. A high-ranking lottery official has resigned as the state scrutiny of Texas lottery program intensifies. Details from correspondent Lisa Dwyer.
The executive director of the Texas Lottery Commission has resigned in the latest shakeup of the state's retail gambling enterprise amid multiple investigations into large jackpots. Ryan Mendel held the job for only about a year following the abrupt resignation of his predecessor. The agency is facing probes ordered by Governor Greg Abbott and State Attorney General Ken Paxton into the integrity of the games and courier companies that buy tickets for online customers. Texas lawmakers have threatened to shut courier companies down. The latest scrutiny began in 2023 when a $95 million jackpot was awarded. The winner had purchased nearly every possible number combination for that draw, more than 25 million of them. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
On this date in 1985, Coca-Cola changed its original formula and releases new Coke, sparking negative responses, prompting the company to return to their original recipe. America in the Morning for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm John Trout. Coming up this half hour, funeral arrangements announced in the passing of Pope Francis.
Reorganization at the State Department. I'm Clayton Neville.
Can I finish, please? Justices in the Supreme Court get a bit testy. I'm Bob Brown. We'll explain why.
Marco Rubio to skip the Ukraine talks in London today, Walgreens' big opioid settlement, and a massive wildfire forcing evacuations in New Jersey.
The much-anticipated retrial of Karen Reed is underway in Massachusetts. I'm Haya Panjwani.
The top producer of CBS's 60 Minutes has quit. I'm Ed Donahue.
Harvey Weinstein is fighting a do-over case in New York City. I'm Kevin Carr.
Back after these messages. The midweek national forecast is in. This is America in the Morning. Here's AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
A cold front earlier in the week has become nearly stationary across the southeast, and from that we can expect additional showers and thunderstorms to form, especially during the afternoon. This will cover the area from the Carolinas into Georgia and westward to central and eastern Texas. A few of the storms could lead to some heavier rain. However, AccuWeather severe weather experts are focused on the severe thunderstorm activity in the western plains from West Texas northward to easternmost Colorado and southern Nebraska, and then shifting eastward through a good part of Kansas and Oklahoma. That'll start late today. These storms will start out fairly isolated later this afternoon and then congeal as the evening continues. These storms have the potential for drenching rainfall, damaging winds, and large hail. There's even a small chance for a tornado. And thunderstorms will once again form on Thursday in these same areas, with another round possible on Saturday. Fortunately, many of these areas are still in need of some rain. A few more showers and thunderstorms will also expand into Missouri and Iowa today, and then shifting into southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois. Most of the rest of the Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley, and then eastward to Virginia, and then through the Northeast will be dry today with some amount of sunshine. Highs will be in the 60s and 70s for the most part, with a few 80s in the Ohio Valley and 50s in northern New England. This is still about 5 to 15 degrees above the historical average for late April. It is going to be a little bit cooler in the northern plains, where clouds will mix with some sunshine, and there could be a shower or two over eastern Montana into Wyoming and continuing through southern South Dakota. Afternoon highs will be mostly in the 50s and 60s, though this is close to average. And most of the west will remain dry, with just a scattering of showers over the higher elevations through northern California into Idaho. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist Matt Rindy.
Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Cardinals are arriving in Rome from around the world to pay their last respects to Pope Francis and also prepare for the selection of a new pope. Correspondent Charles de Ledesma reports Pope Francis' funeral and the public viewing have been scheduled, and around the world there's praise for Francis, including from people who saw the Pope during his historic trip to the Philippines.
Cardinals gather at the Vatican to begin scheduling Pope Francis' funeral and burial, planning the conclave to elect his successor and making other decisions about running the Catholic Church. Pope Francis' funeral has been set for Saturday at 10 a.m. in St. Peter's Square to be celebrated by the Dean of the College of Cardinals, Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, and a viewing of his body will begin on Wednesday in St. Peter's Basilica. History's first Latin American pontiff charmed the world with his humble style and concern for the poor, but alienated many conservatives. He last appeared in public on Sunday with an Easter blessing and a Pope-mobile tour through the cheering crowds in St. Peter's Square.
He really was about bringing a wider and wider circle of people, not only to Catholicism, but to faith in general. In the 21st century, I think there are a lot of people who have no faith and, frankly, aren't really that inspired by faith leadership. And the Pope, I think, was able to connect with everyone. It's a really unique gift.
Pope Francis visited the Philippines, a Catholic bastion in Asia, in early 2015 to console survivors of Typhoon Haiyan, which left thousands of people dead. His image from that time, rain-soaked but constantly waving and blowing kisses to crowds of typhoon survivors, has endured. Cynthia Esquilona, a 50-year-old mother of two, who lights a candle and prays before a portrait of Francis at the Cathedral Mass, says there is a large legacy that our beloved Pope left us. That's why he's called the People's Pope, because he's very close to the people, especially to the marginalized ones. Francis will be remembered in the Philippines for his outreach to the poor and victims of natural disasters, which often devastate the country. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Back here at home, the government downsizing that's impacted offices including the Pentagon and education is now moving to the building that's home to foreign policy. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the State Department is undergoing a massive reorganization plan. Correspondent Clayton Neville is following details.
The State Department says the purpose of the overhaul is to increase the department's functionality. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said in a statement that he sees the agency currently being at odds with President Trump's interests. To get the department back on track, Rubio plans to do away with overlap in foreign offices.
It is not something where people are being fired today. They're not, no one's going to be walking out of the building. It's not that kind of a dynamic. It is a roadmap. It's a plan.
State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce said the plan surrounds the goal of returning the State Department to its traditional base.
To the nature of human diplomacy, of getting things done, and my goodness, especially in the 21st century.
The overhaul reportedly will consist of closing 132 offices, moving 137 of them, and cutting personnel by anywhere between 15 to 17%.
Region-specific functions will be consolidated to increase functionality. Redundant offices will be removed, and non-statutory programs that are misaligned with America's core national interests will cease to exist.
Bruce insisted that as offices are cut,
you will have people who then, Foreign Service officers, career workers, etc., being able to apply for something else.
This as other departments within the Trump administration also make cuts in order to reduce spending, a top priority of the president. I'm Clayton Neville.
Ukrainian and European officials will be meeting in London today to discuss the potential of ending the war between Kyiv and Moscow. But noticeably absent from the U.S. delegation will be Secretary of State Marco Rubio, which comes after the Trump administration let it be known that they're considering walking away from the situation altogether. Washington correspondent Sagar Magani reports.
On the eve of peace talks in London, Moscow is warning a fast breakthrough in ending the war in Ukraine is unlikely. Ukrainian, European, and U.S. officials are due to meet.
Secretary Rubio is a busy man.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio was to be the top American there, but spokeswoman Tammy Bruce says he has a scheduling conflict.
General Kellogg is there. And so he will be having those conversations. So we look forward to hearing back from him about whether or not we've had some success in London.
President Trump has said negotiations are coming to a head, and Rubio has suggested the meeting could be decisive as to whether the U.S. will keep talking or walk away.
I think it's important to remind everybody that the Ukraine war is a terrible thing, but it's not our war. We didn't start it. The United States has been helping Ukraine over the last 3 years, and we want it to end.
Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky says his negotiators have a mandate to discuss only an unconditional or partial ceasefire and would then sit down for talks in any format. Russia's warning the issue is so complex, it would be wrong to set a short time frame for a settlement. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Pharmacy chains opioid settlement. When America in the Morning continues after these messages. There was emotional debate between justices as the Supreme Court heard a case over LGBTQ books in elementary schools. Bob Brown has details.
The Supreme Court on Tuesday engaging in a lively debate over LGBTQ books being made available in elementary schools. Parents in the Montgomery County, Maryland School District say the Board of Ed violated their religious rights by not providing an opt-out for their children.
It's a fairly complicated 4 levels of review if a parent objects.
Correct. There's a process for adopting curriculum.
The fight against LGBTQ books in classrooms began in 2022 after the school board wanted more storybooks reflecting LGBTQ stories. One book brought up to the justices is Uncle Bobby's Wedding, of 2 men getting married. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, a member of the liberal minority court, questioned about the extent of the exposure in the book children actually were seeing, saying, quote, "None of them are even kissing in any of these books. The most they are doing is holding hands." But conservative Justice Samuel Alito had a different view.
Uncle Bobby gets married to his boyfriend Jamie, and everybody's happy, and everything is, it portrays this. Everyone accepts this, except for the little girl, Chloe, who has reservations about it. But her mother corrects her. No, you shouldn't have any reservations about this. As I said, it has a clear moral message.
Wait a minute, the reservation is
Can I finish, please? It has a clear moral message, and it may be a good message. It's just a message that a lot of religious people disagree with.
Protesters on both sides of the issue gathered outside the court. The Supreme Court is expected to issue a ruling by the end of June. I'm Bob Brown.
A massive wildfire is forcing evacuations in New Jersey. The fire has grown to over 8,000 acres in part of Ocean County along the New Jersey shore, forcing nearly 3,000 residents to flee their homes and closing 2 main highways in the area. Over 1,300 homes and businesses are being threatened by the fast-moving flames. Power in the area has also been cut off over fears that the wires could catch fire and spread the out-of-control blaze. The retrial of a woman accused of killing her police officer boyfriend in Massachusetts is underway. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
The much-anticipated retrial of Karen Reed is underway in Massachusetts. Lawyers began presenting opening statements to a new set of jurors who are expected to wrestle over 2 theories in the death of Reed's Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe. Prosecutor Hank Brennan says Reed's relationship with O'Keefe was deteriorating, and she did, in fact, kill him.
You will see the tension and the unraveling of the relationship. You will read about the discord between the defendant and Mr. O'Keefe. You will see that when he would ignore her calls, they would become incessant. When he would try to push away, she would come closer. You will read those text messages and you will realize that this was the beginning of the end of this relationship.
Defense attorney Alan Jackson says she was a victim of a conspiracy involving the police.
She's the victim of a botched and biased and corrupted investigation that was never about the truth, folks. It was about preserving loyalty.
Reed has been charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene. A mistrial was declared last year after jurors said they were at an impasse. I'm Haya Panjwani.
Drugstore chain Walgreens has agreed to a massive opioid settlement with the Department of Justice. With the latest, here's correspondent Mike Hempen.
According to terms of the deal, the drugstore chain must pay the government at least $300 million and owe another $50 million if the company is sold, merged, or transferred before 2032. The Justice Department accused the pharmacy of knowingly filling millions of illegal prescriptions for controlled substances between August 2012 and March 2023. These included prescriptions for excessive opioids and prescriptions filled significantly early. A company spokesman says while the settlement allows the pharmacy to close all opioid-related litigation, Walgreens disagrees with the government's legal theory and admits no liability. I'm Mike Hempen.
Tesla has reported disappointing earnings for the first quarter, but claims to be pulling ahead with new models. Chuck Palm has a look in today's Tech Report.
Mega electric vehicle automaker Tesla has posted disappointing income for the first quarter of this year. Tesla reported $409 million in net income on $19.3 billion in revenue after delivering almost 337,000 EVs in the first quarter. That's a whopping 71% drop from the same quarter last year and the worst quarter for Tesla deliveries in almost 2 years. Tesla did sell $595 million of their own zero-emissions tax credits, according to its earnings report, and without those, it would have posted a loss. Tesla has cautioned shareholders about how the trade war may affect its business moving forward, as well as President Trump's tariffs and the changing political sentiment that could have a meaningful impact on the demand for their products. Elon Musk has shifted the company towards making its robo-taxi available and the Optimus robot projects. Tesla also reported they're sticking to their guns around making more affordable models starting in the first half of 2025. You can find me at chuckpalm.com.
America in the Morning continues with midweek sports and our Robert Workman.
Baseball Tuesday, the Mets won their sixth straight, 5-1 over the Phillies. New York tied with San Diego for the best record in the young season at 17-7. The Padres blanked the Tigers 2-0. Nick Pivetta and company with a 3-hitter. Nationals shut down the Orioles 7-0. Mitchell Parker fired 8 innings of one-hit ball.
Really just felt like had good feel for what the body was doing. Was again able to force him to make the contact that we were aiming for and be able to use the guys that are behind me to make the cool plays and keep me in the game long.
Elsewhere, the Guardians edge the Yankees 3-2. Cleveland shares the top mark in the AL with the Rangers, who thumped the A's 8-5, belting 4 homers. The Royals edge the Rockies in 11. Astros over the Blue Jays. Red Sox down the Mariners, and the Twins top the White Sox. In the National League, it was the Diamondbacks over the Rays. Brewers thumped the Giants. Cardinals pounded the Braves. Pirates sank the Angels. Marlins shaded the Reds, and the Cubs edged the Dodgers in 10. Stanley Cup playoffs in the East, Matthew Tkachuk scored twice on the power play in his first game in 2 months, leading the Panthers past the Lightning 6-2 in that series opener. Tkachuk suffered a lower body injury during the Four Nations face-off back in February. Hurricanes down the Devils 3-1 to go up 2-0. Maple Leaf shaded the Senators 3-2 in overtime. Toronto up 2-0 in that series. In the West, the Wild evened things up with the Golden Knights, a 5-2 win. That series tied at 1. NBA playoffs in the West, the Thunder bumped the Grizzlies 118-99, leading wire to wire for a 2-0 lead in their best-of-7 set. 3 starters had at least 20 points. Lakers evened up their series with the Timberwolves 94-85. Luka Doncic had 31. Back east, the Pacers beat the Bucks 123-115. Indiana up 2-0. That's Wednesday Sports.
Thank you, sir. Disgraced movie mogul back in court when America in the Morning continues after these messages. Major changes are coming to a longtime Sunday staple TV show as a CBS 60 Minutes news executive is leaving, and he was not shy about why he's stepping aside. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports.
Bill Owens was executive producer of TV's most popular news magazine for 6 years. He's quitting because he feels he no longer has the freedom to run the show independently. Donald Trump sued 60 Minutes for $20 billion last fall over an interview with his opponent last November, Kamala Harris.
Kamala was unable to answer a question properly, and they took the question that they asked and they inserted an answer. They gave her an answer.
CBS is reportedly in mediation to settle the lawsuit with Trump, a prospect that has been bitterly opposed by Owens and others at 60 Minutes. The president also angrily denounced 60 Minutes on social media after an episode last week, which featured critical stories about Ukraine and Greenland, saying CBS should pay a big price for going after him. I'm Ed Donahue.
A new trial is about to get underway in New York City for the disgraced movie mogul Harvey Weinstein. Kevin Carr has details.
Harvey Weinstein is facing another moment of truth this week in a New York courtroom. The disgraced movie mogul is being retried for rape and sexual assault after his previous conviction was overturned last year due to prejudicial testimony. The jury was seated earlier this week after hundreds of potential jurors were dismissed in the selection process. Now a jury is in place with 7 women and 5 men, a more female-leaning percentage than the jury that convicted him of the same charges in 2020. Weinstein's attorney, Arthur Aidala, spoke to the press at the start of jury selection.
We're going to do the best we can to make sure anyone who's going to sit on the jury does not have any preconceived notions or predisposed ideas of what a verdict should be, and that they only base their verdict on the evidence that they're going to hear.
One of the accuser's lawyers, Lindsay Goldbroom, also offered her expectations for this new trial.
But what matters here is the facts, and I'm confident that a jury will find that these acts were not consensual, and they will convict.
Weinstein continues to remain incarcerated due to convictions in Los Angeles. For the retrial in New York City, he's being held at Rikers Island. The new trial starts under the shadow of an expose by The Hollywood Reporter on Tuesday that details Weinstein's time behind bars. While he faces isolation, illness, and incarceration, the report suggests he still receives preferential treatment and protection. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm John Trout. This is Westwood One.